Even the wisest of kings can stumble, and Solomon was no exception. Behind the facade of grandeur and wisdom lay a weakness that, as it surfaced, brought his reign to the brink of the abyss. Today, we will cover every detail described in the pages of the Bible, from Solomon's rise to the throne to his final days. So I believe that this thorough work deserves your like and that you subscribe to the channel to help us share this video. Solomon, son of King David and Bathsheba, is a notable figure in the Bible, known for his wisdom, wealth, and significant role in the construction of the Temple of Jerusalem. Solomon's ascent to the throne of Israel occurred in a context marked by family challenges and intrigue following David's death. His son Adonijah tried to claim the throne, but the prophetic intervention of Nathan and Bathsheba ensured that Solomon, God's chosen one, was crowned king. God's revelation to David, in which he said Solomon would succeed him and build the temple in Jerusalem, is found in the first book of Chronicles, chapter 22, where God says, "You have shed much blood and fought many wars. You will not build a temple in my honor because you have shed much blood on the ground before me. However, you will have a son who will be a man of peace and rest. I will give him rest from all his enemies around him. His name will be Solomon, and I will grant peace and quiet to Israel during his reign." Solomon, whose name means peace, began his reign by promoting stability and unity in the kingdom. The most prominent feature of Solomon, which set him apart from the leaders of his time, was his extraordinary wisdom. Solomon made a significant covenant with God in the early days of his reign, a moment that highlights not only his wisdom, but also his intention to seek divine guidance in his governance. This covenant and its conditions are documented in the first book of Kings, chapter 3, verses 3 to 14. The key event took place in Gibeon, where Solomon offered sacrifices before the Lord. That night, God appeared to Solomon in a dream and said, "Ask me for whatever you want me to give you." In response, Solomon expressed his humility, acknowledging the great responsibility of leading the people of Israel, particularly mentioning his need for wisdom to judge and govern justly. He recognized his absolute dependence on God to guide his steps and make wise decisions that would benefit the people of Israel. Solomon's choice to ask for wisdom rather than riches or personal success demonstrated his desire to lead with integrity and justice, reflecting the heart of a wise and God-fearing leader. God's response to Solomon's plea was remarkable. God praised the king's choice, and in addition to granting the wisdom Solomon asked for, he also promised additional blessings, including wealth and honor that would be unmatched in all of Israel's history. A famous episode that illustrates this wisdom is the judgment of the two women who disputed the motherhood of a child. The narrative, found in the first book of Kings, chapter 3, verses 16 to 28, describes two women who lived together and gave birth around the same time. However, one of the children died, leading both women to claim the surviving child as their own. Faced with this deadlock, the women appeared before King Solomon seeking justice. Instead of making a hasty decision, Solomon proposed an extraordinary solution. He suggested dividing the child in half and giving each woman half. The response of each woman revealed the true mother. The woman who genuinely loved the child begged the king not to harm the child and instead suggested that the child be given to the other woman. The other woman, who was not the biological mother, agreed with the proposal to divide the child. Solomon's astute solution revealed the true mother, the woman who was willing to give up the child to protect it from harm. Solomon then proclaimed that the true mother was the one who had shown genuine maternal love and ordered that the child be given to her. In addition to his wisdom, Solomon is also known for his notable achievements, including the construction of the Temple of Jerusalem. This grand project not only served as the spiritual center of the kingdom, but also symbolized God's continued presence among the people of Israel. The grandeur of the temple demonstrated not only Solomon's administrative skill, but also the wealth and prosperity of the kingdom's seat. The desire to build a temple dedicated to the Lord was initially conceived by his father, King David. However, it was Solomon who carried out this noble project. The biblical narrative describes intricate details and precious materials such as cedar from Lebanon for the structure and pure gold for the ornaments, reflecting the king's dedication and reverence for God. The site chosen for the temple, Mount Moriah, had deep symbolic significance, being the same place where Abraham demonstrated his faith by being willing to sacrifice his son Isaac. This act of faith and obedience that preceded the temple highlighted the continuity of the special relationship between God and his people. Solomon's temple became the spiritual and cultural epicenter of Israel, a symbol of unity and worship. Solomon also dedicated himself to international alliances, solidifying commercial and diplomatic relations. The visit of the Queen of Sheba, who came to test Solomon's wisdom, is a notable example of these external relations. These events are recorded in the first book of Kings, chapter 10, verses 1 to 13, and in the second book of Chronicles, chapter 9, verses 1 to 12. Upon arriving in Jerusalem, the Queen of Sheba posed difficult questions to Solomon, testing his wisdom. The Bible reports that Solomon answered all her questions, and there was nothing he could not explain. The queen's journey to Jerusalem was marked by an impressive caravan, carrying an abundance of spices, gold, and precious stones. The exchange of gifts during the visit highlights the diplomatic nature of this encounter. Besides the Queen of Sheba's visit, Solomon also established diplomatic relations with other kingdoms. He made marital alliances with princesses from neighboring nations such as Egypt and Phoenicia, a common practice at the time to strengthen alliances and promote peace between kingdoms. However, throughout his reign, Solomon was not immune to flaws. Although he was celebrated for his wisdom and grandeur, his story is also marked by mistakes and deviations that eventually had significant consequences for his reign and Israel's history. One of Solomon's major downfalls was his involvement with foreign women, in direct violation of divine instructions. The Bible reports in the first book of Kings, chapter 11, verses 1 to 3, that Solomon loved many foreign women, in addition to Pharaoh's daughter, and took princesses from neighboring nations, contrary to God's law, which forbade marriages with women who worshipped other gods. These marriages were not only political alliances, but also introduced foreign cultural and religious influences into Israel. The foreign wives brought with them their religious practices and gradually exerted a negative influence on Solomon. He began to tolerate the worship of various idols and participated in rituals contrary to the exclusive worship of the God of Israel. The culmination of this deviation was the construction of temples for idols in honor of his wives' deities. This act directly contradicted God's commandments. This apostasy, which included building altars for deities like Ashtoreth and Molech, provoked God's wrath. Solomon's final days, as reported in the first book of Kings, chapters 11 and 12, were marked by a mix of glory and shadows, revealing the complexities of life and governance as Solomon aged. His earlier choices, especially regarding marriages with foreign women and the acceptance of idol worship, began to negatively impact his reign. God's anger manifested, and he raised adversaries against Solomon. Jeroboam, a trusted official, rebelled against the king and became a prominent leader who would eventually lead the northern tribes. Solomon's death marked the end of an era. He passed away after a 40-year reign, leaving a legacy that included the majestic construction of the Temple of Jerusalem and an unprecedented period of peace and prosperity. The Bible does not provide specific details about the exact cause of Solomon's death. However, in the first book of Kings, chapter 11, verses 41 to 43, it is recorded, "The rest of Solomon's history, All that he did, and the wisdom he demonstrated, is written in the book of the Acts of the Kings of Israel. The days that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel were 40 years. Then he rested with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David, his father, and Rehoboam, his son, succeeded him. With Solomon's death, his son Rehoboam took the throne. This resulted in the division of the kingdom of Israel into two. The northern kingdom led by Jeroboam, and the southern kingdom, composed mainly of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, led by Rehoboam. Thus, Solomon's final days were followed by a tumultuous transition for his son, who witnessed the kingdom his father had built. It was divided under the weight of the consequences of his choices. Solomon's story is a poignant reminder of the importance of ethical and spiritual decisions, as well as the long-term consequences of those decisions in the life of a leader and the destiny of a nation. If you've made it this far, I assume you enjoyed the content, so I ask that you subscribe to the channel and leave your thoughts about the story in the comments. Take care, and God bless.